If you would please stand for the singing of My Country 'Tis of Thee, which will be led by Janine Witham. Then Andres Sanchez, president of Manatee High School Key Club, will come and lead us in our pledge. And then Reverend Deacon Gretchen Platt, Christ Episcopal Church, will come and lead us in our invocation.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, and to the liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I stand here and look out at a lot of history, a history that I am at the bottom rung. And I am so honored tonight, being one of the newer members, to be asked to do this invocation. And so I ask now that we bow our heads for a moment of thanksgiving and of praise and of fellowship. I ask our Heavenly Father that He be present with us tonight as we socialize and remember the past, and we look at the present, and we look toward the future. This club, dear Lord, you have made so strong, and it has existed for these 90 years. And only through your blessings, and only through the fortitude and the strength and enthusiasm of its members has it grown to this day. And we know that it will continue to grow because you are with us. And so, Lord, we thank you. We thank you for this nation, for this country, for those who have died to save it, for those who are still out there working to protect us. We thank you for this day. We thank you for this food and the hands that prepared it, and for it to our use to your loving glory. And we ask this all in the God and Father of us all. Amen.
You may be seated. Please enjoy your meal. We'll reconvene in just a few minutes. Good evening. I hope that you have enjoyed your dinner. I'm Brenda Rogers, and I'm the president of the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton, and I'm really happy that you came to this party we threw to celebrate our charter that happened 90 years ago today. I want to share with you just a little bit of the speech that was given, or the news report that was given following that charter dinner. This is the 1922 charter dinner was described as, there was considerable speech making, but none of the addresses were long and none were tiresome. After receiving the visitors at the Manna Vista Hotel, which was a gathering point, the entire party went to the Women's Club, where the ladies had a fine chicken dinner in readiness. So here we are, repeating history right here tonight. So, how about that? It is my hope that when you wake up tomorrow, you'll provide that same report to whoever you talk to about the evening tonight. I want to share with you that Senator Ed Price, I'm going to say it that way, sends his regrets. He was our president in 1955, and he really had hoped he would be able to be here tonight, but that was not possible. So we have our oldest president, and we're not going to talk about who's the youngest. It might embarrass me. And then I also want to report that Bill Middlebrooks, our president in 1989, is recovering from knee surgery. So you want to keep him in your thoughts and prayers. At this time, I would like to introduce our sponsors, because they helped us offset the cost of the evening. And we'll start with our sponsors, our $1,000 sponsors, and that was, first was Manatee Players. If you want to wave or stand up or however you want to be recognized, thank you very much. Bells Incorporated, and we're glad that Bells is with us. The Bells story and the Kiwanis story connect in lots of ways we've learned through the study of our history and the presentation that Bells made to our club a few weeks ago. The Bradenton Herald. You stand and wave. Thank you very much. The Bassett Vita Morgan Stanley Smith Barney Group. And then our next level sponsors, Jack and Paula Hawkins with Grimes Goebel et al. And Paula Hawkins Studio. Thank you so much. Where are they? I lost them. BB&T Insurance, John Laurie, Greg Bussell. Thank you very much. Shin and Company, Byron Shin. Thank you. NDC Construction, Ron Allen, Jason Bartz. Hancock Bank, Brian Ruggiero. Our good friend Gil Zisselberger, thank you so much. Boyd Insurance and Investments, Richard Gross, Dick. And Bank of the Ozarks, Barry Brown. Thank you very much. We do appreciate you very much. We have some guests that I would like to also recognize. Debbie McNulty is here. She's our Division Lieutenant Governor with her daughter Erin. We're happy that they're here with us tonight. Mayor Wayne Poston and his wife Mickey. Thank you. Councilwoman Mary Ann Barnaby and her husband Mark. Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, John Chappie. County Commissioner Larry Bussell and his wife Edie. Commissioner Donna Hayes. The Honorable Robert Sweat, Supervisor of Elections, his wife Sue. Property Appraiser Charlie Hackney, his wife Nikki. Judge Ed Nicholas and his wife Anne Marie. Former Senator Marlene Woodson Howard, thank you for your contribution. School board members and also Kiwanians, Karen Carpenter and Julia Ranabar. We have Mrs. Mavis Hensley, the wife of Judge Robert Hensley, one of our past presidents, with us today. I'd like to recognize Cheryl Werner from the Bradenton Tropical Palms, who brought a lot of the displays that are here around the room. Cheryl, thank you for coming and representing part of our family. And now I would like to have our club officers and board members just please wave, or let's have you stand. There's a lot of you. Just stand, get your last minute to stretch. The past presidents of our foundation, you're up front a few minutes ago with a picture. Did they leave? Okay. Our foundation trustees. Thank you. Our planning committee and Terry Roberts, our right and left hand. If you would please stand. Yes, we all love Terry. Okay. I didn't see too many of our planning committee stand up, but we'll try that again a little bit later. And I would like to say thank you to two of I guess, my greatest supporters, Karen Winden and Dan Schlant, both Deputy County Administrators who are here tonight. Thank you for coming. And then I have to say thank you to my husband, Larry Rogers, for letting me do this. Okay. Now you're in for some fun, because we're going to have several of our past presidents come forward, and they're going to give you a little synopsis of the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton over the last 90 years, and we're doing this in 2 decades. So the first one is Bob Sweat, and he's going to tell you about 1922 through 39. Bob.
Thank you, man. You did a great job. I know I only have a couple minutes. If this is being a movie star, I don't think I can handle that. Those lights are bright. But I only have a couple minutes, but I do want to share something very quickly with you. You know, a lot of people worked on putting this together, but there's one person that has to organize and take care of everything. And I think we need to give Brenda Rogers a big hand for all the work that she's done. A lot of work goes into this, and I know I did the 75th anniversary, and the same people, a lot of them are sitting in this audience tonight that helped Brenda help me, and that's what Kiwanis is all about, is giving and helping folks. I love Kiwanis, and I know everybody here loves Kiwanis, or you wouldn't be here this evening. It's a great organization, and I'm really proud this year. I have a grandson that's going into the 9th grade, and they have a key club out there, and I'm pushing him hard. I hope he gets involved very early on. So let me share with you, I wrote most of this for the 75th, but I think it's important that people, club members, and people in our community understand the background and how Kiwanis started and how it has perpetuated itself throughout history for 90 years and where we're at today. And for those of you that are from here, been here for a few years, you can see what Kiwanis does. But the amazing part is when you talk to a newbie and you tell them what Kiwanis does and they don't believe you. They just do not believe that any organization can be that involved in a community. And they really have to question you, and it's kind of enjoyable. And I know you members get that every day. So without any further ado, let me share the first 17 years of Kiwanis with you. The 1920s was the era when business reigned supreme. The United States, England, and Japan agreed to a naval holiday, and they agreed to build no warships or nothing of any consequences to war for 10 years. Quietly, the politics of Europe and the Soviet Union were moving toward conflict that would lead to another world war. Here is the important part. On August 22nd, 1922, the Manatee River Kiwanis Club, was chartered. History reads that the impressive ceremony at the Bradenton's Women's Club, the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton, was born. W.A. Manning presided. Others taking part in the program was Elon Rood, M.O. Thomas, and Bob Bell. Additional charter members included Whitney Curry, John T. Campbell, Dewey A. Dye, E.P. Green Sr. and Jr., W.L. Harrison, and James A. Howes. Regular Tuesday luncheons started soon thereafter. The first president of Kiwanis was H.K. Kirk Tallet, who served 2 terms, and that's probably a first and only time for this Kiwanis Club. Is going back and looking at the history, we have always had 1 president per year for all of these years that we've been here, except for Brenda this year. I think this is her second shot at it, but the First Ladies' Night was held in December 1922. The Charities Committee reported that it had several $100s on hand to use for Christmas. The club members voted to pay 25 cents apiece at each meeting until Christmas to add to the charity fund. It does sound funny today, doesn't it? 25 cents. Okay. During this decade, Time magazine made its debut, and the crossword puzzle was born, and it became a fad. Bob Bell was instrumental in recruiting the St. Louis Cardinals to Bradenton for spring training. The Kiwanis Club sponsored a conference in Bradenton between Bradenton and Arcadia Kiwanians and Manatee and DeSoto County Commissioners to plan for the construction of a paved road between Bradenton and Arcadia. That road later became known as Highway 70. Bradenton Kiwanians journeyed to Camp Flying Eagle that year and built 3 cabins for the campers there. According to the Bradenton Herald, they were spurred on by the free Coca-Cola furnished by Bradenton Bottling Plant owner W.H. Troutman. The real estate boom starts to gather steam. In 1924, 363 homes were built in the city of Bradenton, and Manatee County is ranked number 11th in the nation in agricultural production. While you're thinking about this, what subdivision was built back then? 363 homes in Manatee County. Think about it. I'll tell you after the meeting, okay? While college kids were dancing in Charleston, Florida real estate was sold door to door. Dredges and steam shovels converted mangrove swamps and sandbars into the islands. The developer of Coral Gables even had the audacity to start a new university in the middle of the subdivision. What did he call it? The University of Miami. In Tampa, D.P. Davis bought 2 almost submerged clumps of mangrove in Tampa Bay. By dredging, he created 2 islands, amply named Davis Islands. On opening day, he sold $3 million worth of lots. Most of them were still underwater. Also that year, you could buy a new Ford for $265. It's kind of like the quarter that the Kiwanis paid for that. A hurricane struck the east coast of Florida in 1926. Boats, barges, and schooners were picked up and washed inland. 50,000 were left homeless, 400 killed, and 6,500 injured. Then again, in 1928, another storm crossed Lake Okeechobee and pushed a wall of water 15 foot high out across the bordering communities. Deaths were estimated at a number of 2,500. The entire town of Pelican Bay, for those of you that know where Pelican Bay is, was wiped out completely. All 450 inhabitants perished during the night. Notable local projects included the Memorial Pier. Local businesses put up the money to build the pier and were paid back later without interest by the city. Green Bridge was also under construction. The Tamiami Trail from Fort Myers to Miami was completed. The road had been under construction since 1916. Most of the road was built on rock blasted out of the large canals along the side of the road because no other materials were available. Over 3 million pounds of dynamite was used to blast the materials for the road. Undoubtedly, the biggest news event of the decade may have been the stock market crash. In 1925, the census data showed that the population of Bradenton was 7,364. The county had 23,214. Some comparison for today, isn't it? The club presidents during this time, 1922 to 1923, was H.K. Talent. 1924, Dr. Glenn Hollingsworth. 1925, a produce buyer from Pennsylvania named Harry Peterson was the president. In 1926, W.A. Manning. In 1927, County Attorney Dewey Dye. In 1928, Shelton Moody. And in 1929, E.C. Rice. The 1930s brought regular directors meeting to the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton under the leadership of President Bob Bell. The club's big project that year was Kiwanis Health Summer Camp. Economic conditions continued to be bad. In 1934, it's described as the worst year the club has ever had, and the members were just trying to get by. In 1935, the Bradenton Chamber of Commerce appealed to the city of Bradenton to build a trailer park as a tourist attraction to get more people and more money to come into Bradenton. The city was unable to undertake this and turned the chamber down. The Kiwanis Club, with John Henry Logan as president and with Bob Bell as the trailer park chairman, undertook to start this project. Only preliminary plans were done the first year. In 1936, the club started rolling on the Kiwanis Trailer Park project. The land was leased from the city for 1/4 of the net profits per year. The merchants and businessmen then advanced about $13,000, and space was provided for 200 trailers. Kiwani and George Morrell loaned the club another $4,000 to complete the project. Within several years, all money had been repaid and the land purchased from the city. Bob Bell was appointed chairman of the Trailer Park Committee. Bobby Brellier became park manager with the first space rented for $1.50 a week. Each year that followed, improvements were made to the trailer park, and at one time it was known as the largest trailer park in the world. At the end of this decade, war broke out in Europe with the German invasion of Poland, the local news, the Bradenton Tourist Auditorium, was dedicated. The presidents during this period of time was 1930, Bob Bell, 1931, Selby White, 1932, A.H. Chapman, 1933, Roy Roberts, 1934, G.B. Hayes, 1935, John Henry Logan, 1936, Dan Blaylock, 1937, T.M. McDuffie, in 1938, the Coca-Cola man, as they called him, W.H. Troutman, who owned the local Coca-Cola bottling company, and in 1939, Sam Cornwell. That gives you a brief glimpse of the first 17 years of the history of the Kiwanis, and you'll hear some more a little bit later. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm past President Bill Padelford, and yes, I'm standing up. 1940 to 1959, in Europe, all of the Western powers fall to Germany. The remnants of the British Army are evacuated at Dunkirk. The U.S. sends 50 World War I destroyers to England to help guard the channel against invasion and to fight the submarines. Roosevelt signs the first U.S. peacetime draft law, and in October, American boys are drafted into the Army for 1 year, which lasts 5. In June, Germany invades Russia. Local residents got the news of Pearl Harbor over the radio after Sunday dinner. Bradenton's first casualty was sailor Breger Watson, killed in the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The early part of this decade is World War II. The club purchased $10,000 in war bonds and donated $450 toward the purchase of new high school band uniforms. One of the highlights of the year was a visit to the club by Congressman Will Rogers, Jr. The local rationing board is set up where Sharp's Drugs was located. People put A, B, and C stickers on their cars. High school kids either rode bikes or walked on dates. The Key Club is founded at Bradenton High. In other local news, G.B. Knowles was chairman of the draft board. Dewey Dye was state senator, and the first DeSoto pageant was staged. Elizabeth Dye was the first queen. Manatee and Sarasota counties got together and decided to build a new airport in the vicinity of Whitfield Estates. Although the war remains the top news, there were other matters of interest. The wonder drug penicillin is developed and put on the market. In 1943, the club finishes paying for the trailer park and the mortgage is burned. 7 club members and 12 sons of Kiwanians are in the service. Kiwanis decides to support the Girl Scouts as a program and donated $1,500. In 1945, the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton starts the Boys Club with a budget of $7,500, and the South Florida Museum is organized. In 1945, the county's 2 high schools are consolidated into Manatee High School. Palmetto seeks to secede from the county, and a delegation appears before the Hillsborough County Commission, asking that Palmetto be annexed. After the storm blows over, the consolidated school turns out the first of many football championship teams. Go Hurricanes. In 1947, the club celebrates its 25th anniversary. Happiness House is organized, and the DeSoto National Monument is inaugurated on land donated by Kiwanian W.D. Sugg and Dr. J.W. Blake, I.W. Blake. There is a plan to reactivate the DeSoto pageant. In 1948, the Manatee Players were organized. The DeSoto celebration was started again as an annual event, and the Hurricane Stands Association built new stands and lights at the football field. Club projects included funding a new building in Lewis Park for the Garden Club and continued Boys Club support. In 1949, Manatee Veterans Hospital was underway, and the club donated $5,000. Club presidents included 1940 W.D. Sugg, 1941 Charles W. Ward, 1942 Sam Wooten, 1943 Tom Chairs, 1944 Harry Bato, 1945 Elon Rood, 1946 William Lathrop, 1947, A. Sterling Hall. 1948, William A. Day. 1949, Robert E. Willis. On a Sunday afternoon in June 1950, we were suddenly at war again, this time in Korea, with everybody asking, where is that? Locally, the DeSoto National Memorial was officially dedicated. The Boston Braves moved to town for a long and glorious stand. Manatee Veterans Memorial Hospital is started. In 1951, one of the club's biggest projects is the building of the Girl Scout Little House on 17th Avenue. Proceeds from the trailer park go over $50,000 for the first time, which initiates a major building program for the Boys Club. In 1952, plans began for building the hall and moving out of the Tea Cozy. The new Boys Club gym is finished. The hospital is finished. George Coates starts to work on clubs for Anna Maria Island and Palmetto. This year, the Chamber of Commerce urges the city to begin a city auditorium. The new public beach on Anna Maria Island was also opened. In 1953, the club makes the move to Kiwanis Hall. The biggest local news was the opening of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. For those who wanted to make the first trip across, there was quite a wait as cars lined up early in the day, bumper to bumper, all the way from the toll gate to the foot of the Green Bridge in Palmetto. In the 1950s, a group of New York investors bought Jackson Cow Pasture in southwest Manatee County for over $2 million. Many people thought that they were nuts, but they started a subdivision called Bayshore Gardens. Highway 301 was rebuilt from Palmetto to Parrish. Club projects included building the new Boys Club building at a cost of $70,000. The Manatee Kiwanis Club was chartered. In 1958, Bradenton Kiwanis began ringing the bell for Salvation Army. The Kiwanis Recreation Park was started on land donated by G.P. Smith and Bud Reasoner. It was noted that it turned out club members could do physical labor from time to time after all. As members built the pavilion, the Girl Scout Little House was remodeled and expanded at a cost of $13,000. In 1959, the recreation park is officially dedicated and opened. Club presidents included 1950 W.E. Wenzel, 1951 Paul Davis, 1952 George Hitchholt, 1953 Walter Hardin, 1954 George Coates, 1955 Edgar H. Price Jr., 1956 W.F. Page, 1957 J. Hartley Blackburn, 1958 W. Harper Kendrick, and 1959 Joe J. Fant. Thank you.
This is some exciting stuff. But Bob, you got everybody in suspense and they want to know where were those homes built? What was it? He doesn't know? You don't know? Oh my gosh. You don't have the answer? That's just, well, that was the other one. Yeah, Palmasola, you think it was Palmasola? Okay, well, I'm here for the 1960s through the 1970s, so 60 to 79. The 1960s brought new records and lots of change. The revenues from the trailer park were recorded as being over $100,000. Plans for a new auditorium, shuffleboard courts, bleachers, and renovations for the trailer park were initiated. The club received notice from IRS, not such good news. Bradenton Kiwanis might lose non-tax status. Oh, that was not good. In 1964, Bradenton Kiwanis paid the 1957 income tax to IRS and filed suit against the IRS in federal court in Tampa. A name you're going to recognize, Hugh Culverhouse, tax attorney from Jacksonville, is hired to fight the case. The club lost on a direct verdict by the judge. An appeal was filed and IRS compromised. The conquistadors made their first pilgrimage to Bacarota, Spain, home of DeSoto. The Chamber of Commerce moved into their new building, and Coquina Beach is purchased by the county and opened for public use. The countywide library system started, and the county water system finished. Lots of stuff went on back in the 60s. Club projects included the purchase of land and building on 34th Street West for the Bayshore branch of the Boys Club. At the end of the decade, IRS questioned Braden and Kiwanis about the amount of the lease with the trailer park and had to pay $36,000 in taxes. Past presidents included 1960 James E. Pratt, 1961 Joe Bill Rood, 1962 Camden Jarvis, 1963 James Brush, 1964 Marion T. McGinnis, 1965 Fred Kushmer Jr., 1966 Edgar J. Johnston, 1967 Robert Hensley, and you've heard already that his wife Mavis here, and so is his son Alan, and we appreciate you both being here. 1968 Joseph F. Garrett, 1969 Kay Rowlett. Okay, moving on to the 70s. Jo Berta Bullock is named Outstanding Handicapped Woman of the Year by Pilot International. The 200 million 1,500-acre Palm Air development breaks ground in Manatee County. Florida Governor Claude Kirk suspends the Manatee County School Board, where are you school board members, for dragging its feet on integration. Port Manatee construction is funded through the sale of $6 million in revenue bonds and is dedicated Manatee County ambulance service is initiated. The DeSoto Square Mall opens with 85 specialty stores and 3 department stores. The Braden and Herald is sold to Knight, which would later become, anyone remember? Knight Ridder, right? Knight Ridder newspaper. L.W. Blake Hospital opens for business. Manatee County acquires the property next to the courthouse, now the site of the Robert E. Hensley Public Safety Complex. In club news, the Agriculture and Conservation Committee purchased a steer at the county fair for that's 60 cents a pound. The club honors local baseball star Hal McRae, husband of current member Johnsina McRae, more affectionately known as Joe. The first phase of the remodeling of the trailer park was completed and the debt paid in full. Drug abuse prevention programs started in the public schools, and Archie Powell introduced the Mystery Man, which still remains, or mystery person, I should say, as part of the Kiwanis Club weekly program. Tampa Mayor Dick Greco speaks at the Braden and Kiwanis meeting. That was probably quite an event. Kiwanis International Florida District started a program encouraging people to have regular blood pressure checkups. Braden and Kiwanis sponsored the science fair for Manatee and Sarasota schools. The charitable giving budget for the club moves to the $200,000 mark, all proceeds from the trailer park. In 1972, the 50th anniversary of our club is celebrated. Charter member Bob Bell is honored. Secretary of Agriculture Earl Butts was a guest at the 50th anniversary. Archie Powell presented a large K made with 50 silver dollars on a blue board for Mr. Bob Bell's 50 years of service to the club. The first long-range planning committee was appointed for the club, consisting of the past 5 presidents. The first vocational scholarships are noted. In 1977, ground is broken for first building of YMCA on land previously purchased for the Boys Club. Major repairs were made to the Boys Club, Girls Club, and the Rabonia Daycare. Braden and Kiwanis spent $14,000 for air conditioning and a sound system for the 4-H building. With the aid of scholarship money from Braden and Kiwanis Club, 36 county students were able to attend college. An additional 13 students attended the Vocational Technical Center through Kiwanis scholarships. Youth for Christ was outfitted with new office equipment. In 1978, history was made when Pat Glass became the first woman to be elected to the Manatee County Commission. The county tax rolls go over the $2 million mark for the first time. Good news back then. Braden and Kiwanis donates $500,000 seed money for the construction of a new Manatee County Civic Center. In 1979, the first joint meeting was held with the Rotary Club at the University of Florida Gulf Coast Experimental Station, and the very first Better Manatee Day was held under the leadership of David Bassett. $1,000 was spent on the project. A total of $260,000 donated to charities, and the club donated 10 acres of land, 5 to the Girls Club, and 5 to the YMCA. A total of 34,815 was awarded in scholarships, 45 scholarships to students attending colleges, and 21 scholarships to the vocational students. Past presidents in the 70s were 1970, Jack Shen, 1971, Wheeler B. Leith, 1972, Vernon Desir, 1973, Stanley A. Lujak, 1974, Archie B. Powell, 1975, Robert King, 1976, Harold Whitcomb, 1977, Harold Haley, and 1978, Bentley B. Lang, and 1979, Thomas Anderson.
We're going to take a break from history and make some history, and we'll invite Dave Grantham, our Secretary Treasurer, to come and make an introduction.
Thanks for wearing glasses, Connie. I didn't want to be the first one up here doing that. Tonight I have the privilege to introduce to you Bob Moore. He's our special guest, and he'll be the only speaker outside the club, the official club tonight. Bob has been a member of the Kiwanis Club of Venice for 44 years. He's had perfect attendance, for those of you know that know what that is, for 43 of those 44 years, and I'm going to ask him what happened the other year. During his career to date with Kiwanis, Bob has served a long list of positions in both the local, state, national, and at international levels, including club president, which he is currently, lieutenant governor, Florida district treasurer, a number of district chairs, including new club building, youth services, spiritual aims, and others. He was elected governor of the Florida district and served in that position in 1991-92. Bob, it is bright up here. Prior to being elected to the Kiwanis International Board, he served as chair or vice chair of a number of international committees, including the Worldwide Service Project Campaign, which we've become somewhat famous for. Bob joined the International Board of Trustees in 1994 and served as vice president of the international organization for 3 years. At the International Convention in New Orleans in June of 2002, Bob was elected president-elect of Kiwanis International and served in that capacity in 2003 and 4. Bob holds a life member status in Kiwanis International and is a Hickson Fellow of the Kiwanis International Foundation. He is a recipient of the Key of Honor from the Florida District. Professionally, Bob is an attorney and shareholder in the firm of Konetsky, Moore, and DeBoer, PA, and past president of the Venice Englewood Bar Association. He's a lecturer and author on condominium law. In addition to Bob's Kiwanis activities and his professional work, Bob has served as a trustee for Manatee Community College, South Sarasota County Resource Center. He was a board member there. He's also served on boards, the Sarasota County School Board, as well as the Historical Commission. Also, he was involved with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, Venice Little League, and Pop Warner football. Bob received, now catch this, Bob received the Distinguished Community Service Award in 1997 from the South Venice Rotary Club. They saw the light that year. Bob and his wife Jan are very active in their church, South Venice Baptist Church. They're the parents of 4 sons and 6 grandchildren. Bob's going to tell us a little bit about his year as president of International. We're honored that both Jan and Bob are here to be with us this evening to celebrate our 90th anniversary. Please do give them a warm Kiwanis Club of Bradenton welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. This is not the first time, though, I've talked to the Bradenton Kiwanis Club. There's been a couple other occasions. I'm glad that Mrs. Hensley's here because I had opportunities to appear before Judge Hensley on a number of occasions. and I was honored to be a speaker at his retirement party. Y'all have been here for 90 years. 7 years after Kiwanis was started, the Bradenton Kiwanis Club was started. And you have a great history and have done many things. I was asked to talk about Kiwanis International, about my year as president, about the Worldwide Service Project to eliminate iodine deficiency, and about the new one to eliminate tetanus, neonatal tetanus, in 7 minutes. So Kiwanis International, you know, is an international organization. It was started in 1915. It became somewhat international in 1919 when the Hamilton Kiwanis Club was formed in Canada. 1964, we became even more international when Mexico was, clubs were built in Mexico, and we started building clubs around the world. A lot of people don't think we became international until 1987 when we admitted women. And this is the 25th year of women being in Kiwanis. Now, Jan and I have had the chance to serve, and I say Jan and I because it is a team effort. But we had the chance to serve on the international board, and as international president, we've traveled around the globe on behalf of Kiwanis. And my view of Kiwanis after serving on the international board and as president and traveling to these districts is that Kiwanis is a family united in service in a world without borders. And I say that because Kiwanis is a family. We have our family group. You know who they are. And we're united in service because service is our primary purpose. And service in a world without borders because human needs have no geographic boundaries. Human compassion, no nationality. And I'll give you an example of that. Jan and I had the privilege of being in Australia. The Australian district decided to do a heifer project in East Timor. Not related to Australia. People in East Timor never had cattle. They didn't know what to do with them. So they had to train them, number one, how to take care of the cattle. Then they brought them into Australia to train them that way. Then they had to transport the cattle, which I take it was not an easy job. And then they went over there and got them started. And it's been a very, very successful project. And you talk to the people in Australia and they beam with pride over it. You talk to these Timor people from there and they are so thankful because now they're raising cattle and they have milk and other produce, products to give to their children. So that's the type of thing we do. As we've been international, we've changed our governance. When I first went on the Kiwanis International Board, there was one person on the board from Europe, one person on the board from Asia, and somebody from Canada, whether it's Western Canada or Eastern Canada, Caribbean, and they switched off every 3 years. Now we have 2 representatives from Europe. We have 2 representatives from Asia. We have the Canadian representative. We have a representative from non-U.S., and then we have 9 representatives from the U.S. or areas that are part of a state of the U.S., and I'm talking about the Pacific Northwest. Pacific Northwest includes parts of Canada, all the way up to Alaska, and all the way out to the Bering Sea. It goes through 9 time zones, so if you're a lieutenant governor or governor of that district, you do an awful lot of traveling. I'm talking about the international. We have recently, the board recently, changed their convention process. We are now going outside the United States every 3rd year. And this year, the convention was New Orleans. Next year, it's Vancouver. Now, people will say that's outside the United States, but it's so close, it's considered part of the United States as far as the conventions go. Then we're going to Macau, and then we're going to be in Indianapolis for the 100th year celebration. You know we have sponsored organizations, sponsored leadership programs, and Key Club, while it was started in California, became big because of G. Harold Martin, who was the governor of the Florida District. It was dying until he took hold of it. The first convention was held in Sanford, Florida, of Key Club International. We have CKI, which is Circle K. We have Builders Clubs, K Kids, Action Clubs, and in Europe we have Key Leader, which is a leadership training process, and in Europe we have Kiwanis Juniors. In Europe, they don't think you're old enough to be a Kiwanian until you're 39. So Kiwanis Juniors was what came out of that. When I first was on the board, all the materials that Kiwanis published was in English. We now have offices in Europe, in Ghent, Belgium, in Taiwan, and in Indianapolis, and our materials are now published in many different languages. Since 1991-92, our major emphasis has been young children priority 1, which is prenatal through age 5. And that's been very successful for us. In 1992-93, we started on our worldwide service project. And we kind of adopted the slogan, serving the children of the world. Now, you may not realize how language really affects the Kiwanis message. But when we're talking about this, serving the children of the world, the slogan that they wanted to adopt was serving the world's children. But many of the people in foreign countries were saying, wait a minute, the world doesn't have children. So we need to have a slogan that our people would understand. So serving the children of the world became what we adopted. In the iodine deficiency, that's the leading cause of preventable mental retardation in the world. And that became our worldwide service project. I was on the committee to help decide to do that, to have a worldwide service project. And then I was on the committee and vice chair of the committee that started the fundraising campaign. And I've been through that with many, through my entire service on the Kiwanis board. It's been labeled the greatest or most important public-private campaign to virtually eliminate a known health problem in the history of the world. And our role in it, we raised over $100 million. Our goal was 75. We raised over $100 million. But the main thing we did is we put together a team of partners, including UNICEF, who initially went in with us, Morton Salt, different salt institutes around the world, USAID, which is United States Aid, CETA, which is Canadian Aid, and other organizations all around the world came together in this partnership. And in fact, it was so strong that we were invited out to the Gates Foundation to help them set up a micronutrient organization, which is now called GAIN. And I got to participate in that. But we have been very successful, but what we are really given credit for is raising awareness of the problems with iodine deficiency disorder. All over the world you can go and you will find people who know Kiwanis. Jan and I have been part of that. We were in Romania and they were so thankful that we had done a study of their country to determine exactly the need and what had to be done. We are known universally. Now, we are now embarked on a new one with UNICEF to eliminate neonatal tetanus. You'll hear a lot more about that. My time's limited tonight, but think about it. You'll be hearing about it, and it's a cause of the death of children and mothers because of the way the umbilical cord is cut. And if the mother gets a tetanus shot, it lasts for 10 years on you, but it lasts on the baby that's born for, I think it's 3 months or 6 months. So you can eliminate that problem. One of the questions I'm always asked is, what are your best Kiwanis moments? And I'll tell you two. There's tons of them. Everywhere we went, we saw great things, but I'll tell you two real quickly. One was in the Philippines. We traveled up to a village that was way up in the mountains. Paved roads, dirt roads, tracks, and then nothing in four-wheel drive vehicles. And we got there to this little village. They had about 200 children. They had the Kiwanis and what's the postal service? UPS built a building for a school. Kiwanis paid for the teacher. They gave the children a meal. The tallest person in that village as an adult could stand under my arm. So they're not very tall people. I got out of the car. There was about 200 kids around with flags, American flags, the Philippine flag. I don't think they'd ever seen a white man with a beard. Or if they had, they'd seen pictures of Santa Claus. And I got touched by at least 200 kids that day. Actually had to come up and touch me. The head of the village introduced me as the President of the United States. Now, our son Jamie was with us, and Jamie, by the way, teaches at St. Stephen's up here, but he was with us on that trip. And he leaned over and whispered to me, he said, "Dad, they're going to be sorely disappointed when they don't get that aid." But it was remarkable. They're still plowing up there with stick plows behind the cows, water buffaloes. My wife's giving me clues over here when I lose that train of thought. And it was really remarkable. But I think the one that really touched me the most, we were in Vietnam. There are no Kiwanis clubs in Vietnam. We're trying to open the door to do that. And we met with a lot of officials, including the foreign minister. And we traveled to a lot of places. We have a doctor who has invented a process for broken fibulas and tibias. That's named Zirkle, who's that's very important over there. So we went to a lot of orthopedic hospitals. The IDD program was very successful there. I met even with the foreign minister. But one day we went to visit an orphanage that Kiwanis had helped build. And it was for toddlers through age 9 who were HIV positive. We had been traveling all day. It was very hot. We weren't really looking forward to that. We got there, the buildings were beautiful. Kiwanis helped build them. The children were wonderful. Everybody who worked in that orphanage had been raised in an orphanage. And we were watching them play, and they really liked us. But they had a 2-story building and outside sidewalk, so the doors for the rooms were off of it. And I was standing there looking in one of the doors at toddlers, just with my hands down at my side, watching them. And this little boy, about 4 years old, came up, put his hand in mine, stood there, and we watched the toddlers. That's priceless. But that's what we do as Kiwanians. We touch people's lives. You've touched people's lives. Our IDD program has touched hundreds of millions of lives, not just a few, hundreds of millions. So that's what we do. Now, I want to tell you one story. It's a joke, but part of it's true. We were in Sicily at a dinner much like this, sitting at round tables like this. And the Archbishop of Sicily was there. And I have a story I like to tell about Pope John Paul when he came to Miami. And I wanted to tell it to the Archbishop. Now, I don't speak any Italian. And the Archbishop does not speak English. But sitting at our table is a friend of ours, is a Kiwanian named Wahib Aladdin. And Wahib's an Egyptian Muslim who lives in Switzerland because he makes the base products, ladies, that go into your cosmetics. I once asked him, I said, can't you do that in Egypt? And he said, you don't get the same price for it if it's made in Switzerland. But he speaks 9 languages, so he translated. So you have a Baptist telling a story about the Pope to an Archbishop with a Muslim translator. And the story goes sort of like this. The Pope John Paul did come to Miami many years ago. And when he came to Miami, some of you may have heard this, they got him a limo and a limo driver. And they said to the limo driver, do whatever the Pope wants you to do. So he went up and introduced himself to the Pope and asked him what he'd like to do, and the Pope said, I want to drive the car. The limo driver thought about it and said, well, that's what they told me to let him do. So he gets in the back, and the Pope gets up front, and he's driving around town, gets very comfortable, gets out on I-95, and gets pulled over for speeding. Motorcycle policeman goes up, looks in the window, goes back, gets on his radio, and calls his sergeant. He says, Sarge, I've stopped a very important person, and I don't know what to do. The sergeant said, is he more important than I am? Oh, yeah, Sarge, he's more important than you are. Sergeant says, is he more important than the mayor of the city of Miami? Yes, Sarge, I believe he's more important than the mayor of the city of Miami. He says, is he more important than the governor of the state of Florida? Motorcycle policeman thought for a moment, says, Sarge, I think he's more important than the governor of the state of Florida. Sergeant said, is he more important than the President of the United States? Motorcycle policeman said, Sarge, he might be more important than the President of the United States. Sergeant asked him, he said, well, who in the heck did you stop? He says, I don't know, but he's got the Pope for a chauffeur. Now, when I got through with that story, the Archbishop is going like this. But I have no clue why he told him. But we can get along. Baptist, Muslim, Catholic, Kiwanis, we can get along. Now it's my next pleasure, I think, is to present some Hicksons to people who I don't believe know they're going to get it. But before we start, let me just tell you, George Hickson, we give the Hickson Awards, and it's a contribution to our foundation. George Hickson was the only president of Kiwanis International, was president for 2 years. And the award is given to him, but is established by the Kiwanis Foundation. And it was to honor him, and the funds from that go to the International Foundation, and it goes into the endowment, and it helps our activities for children. And that's really what it's for. And so, to start off with, I would like to call Bill Webster. Bill Webster. I can't read my own writing. Bill Webster and Clifford Walters. Bill is accepting this on behalf of Robert Bell. I'll get it right in a minute. Thank you. Congratulations. Go ahead.
No, Jamie, by the way, great kid.
Oh, you know us?
Oh, yeah, very well. Robert Bell has been a member of the Braden and Kiwanis Club since 1974. Some of you that are members of the club will recognize this Hickson Award is not being given for perfect attendance. However, it is interesting to see that his grandfather, who's Bob Bell, who was a charter member of this club, his legacy is so intertwined with the community through Bell's and through the club, and Bob Bell was able to continue and be a benefit of being in the club with his grandfather, such that a few years later, when the county acquired the original Bell's store in downtown Bradenton, Bob Bell and the Bell family put all of the proceeds from that sale into a foundation. And Bob Bell and the Bell family and the Bell corporate continues to build in that foundation and continue a legacy of giving and commitment to the community, very similar to what this Kiwanis Club does through scholarships, helping law enforcement, through community giving. The philosophy that Bells in this club have is so intertwined in the history of this community, and Bob's and the company's continued commitment is something that is so valuable to see because it makes this community what it is. And I am so pleased that Bill Webster, a family member, an officer at Bell's, is here tonight to accept on behalf of Bob Bell. Well, you're a surrogate, Bob Bell.
Best of show. I'm going to give you a plaque and the pen. Would Sharon Barhorse come forward, and Charlie Hackney. Also a recipient of a Hickson.
It gives me a great deal of pleasure to make this presentation. I was Sharon's sponsor when she became a member of this club in 2005. She immediately expressed interest in working with the club program that involved and impacted youth. As the school year approached in 2005, Sharon worked to grow programs that involved Big Buddies and Big Sisters. The program, the Big K, called the Big K Mentoring Program. She then got us involved with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and was a great partner in that organization. Sharon's desire to serve youth did not stop with the Big K program. For the past 2 years, she's provided invaluable leadership and service to the Christmas in August program, serving homeless youth as they prepare to go back to school. The coordination of the event involves issuing appropriate invitations, numerous agencies, service organizations,
facilities, and hundreds of volunteers may not have happened and certainly would not have been as successful without Sharon's dedication to youth. Tonight, we present Sharon Barhorst with the Hickson Award for her outstanding service to the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton and her dedication to reaching the needs of the youth. Sharon, congratulations. Well, David Grantham and John Vita.
Thank you. Congratulations, David. Before I get started with David, though, I just want to take just a second of personal privilege because I forgot to tell President Brenda that we have two special guests here with us this evening as well from Congressman Vern Buchanan's office. We have Gary and Sally Tibbetts. Sally is Vern's district director, and her husband Gary, who works with Vern as well. So let's give them a warm welcome. I'm reading this off my BlackBerry that I wrote. I got elbowed by my wife about 6 times as I was reviewing this, saying, "What are you texting? Are you texting?" And no, I don't do that. But David Grantham joined the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton on September 30th, 2004. He immediately became an active member of the Youth Services Committee and served as a Big K mentor for several years, which is an awesome program of this club. His active club membership has included service on the scholarship, membership, and Better Manatee Day committees. Following his election to office of treasurer in 2006, Dave somehow became a member of every club committee. In 2010, the club board of directors elected to hire an executive assistant to assist with the club's business. That action also combined the duties of secretary with the duties of treasurer, and Dave was elected to serve in this dual capacity. His continued service has been a contributing factor in the success of the club and the presidents he has served. He continues to contribute in active service, this year chairing the House Committee, providing leadership to the Membership Committee, arranging food for Christmas in August, and serving on the Scholarship Committee. Tonight, we are pleased to present this Hickson Award to David Grantham, not only for his dedication and continued success to the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton, but also for the wonderful man and father that he is. I came to know David and his wife Carol as parents of Key Club members, as a teacher, and I can tell you that they are awesome representatives of this community, and the way that they conduct their family and themselves. We are assured to have a strong community and a strong club for many years to come. So congratulations, David, on this very well-deserved award.
Here's your plaque and your pen. Thomas Mosley and Gregory Bussell.
I have the pleasure and honor tonight to present the Hickson Award to past President Tom Mosley. Tom has been a member of the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton since 1987 and served the club as president for the 2010 to 2011 year. Serving the needs of youth has always been Tom's passion, beginning with the Boys and Girls Club not only serving on the local board of the Boys and Girls Club, but as the chairman of the Florida Area Council for Boys and Girls Club. Kiwanis was and is a natural complement to his desire to serve the needs of youth in our area, and as a result, he has been very active with all of our youth programs in the club. In fact, introducing the very successful Christmas in August event with this year's edition of that great program being recently completed. And Tom, by the way, none of this would have been possible without the able assistance of your wife, Susan. I hope you know that. In addition to being a very successful local attorney, as you all know, Tom is a excellent stand-up comic. So, you know, right? No, not true. No. But nonetheless, Tom has, when he was president of our club, introduced some very much needed levity to our meetings. Introducing the video of the week, all G-rated by the way, and prevailing upon Gris Bettel to become the Sergeant at Arms. And we were entertained at each meeting with weekly trivia questions with answers that only Gris knew because they were so obscure. On a more serious note, Tom was very instrumental in directing the club through a complex transition of our foundation to a supporting foundation, which involved the establishment of new policies for charitable giving, and most importantly, effectively communicating the importance and value of this transition to both the club and the board. Most recently, Tom has been assisting with a letter of intent with the Manatee players, making sure that our Kiwanis interests were communicated and protected as we work our way towards a joint venture with the players at their new Riverfront location. Join me in recognizing and congratulating Tom Mosley for his dedicated service to the club and the youth of our community.
Okay, Steve Tensworth by David Bassett.
It's my distinct pleasure to be the presenter of Steve with his Hickson Award. Steve joined Braden and Kiwanis in September of 1987, and like Tom Mosley, he also enjoys levity. He's always ready with a pun, a quip, or a joke, many of which are funny. He quickly became active, serving on the House membership, public relations, scholarship committees. He's serving on the board. He began moving through the ranks, achieving and serving as club president in our 2009-2010 year. Under his leadership, the club elected to reestablish the foundation as a supporting foundation of Kiwanis, as opposed to a separate independent foundation. The Kiwanis Hall was renovated to create a more inviting environment for members and guests to meet. While Steve served as president, the club hosted the 30th annual Better Manatee Day with a huge landscaping project for the Dream Center at Norma Lloyd Park, and $65,000 was given for scholarships through the Take Stock in Children program, promising college education as motivation for at-risk youth to stay focused on living a positive lifestyle. Steve has subsequently served on the local Take Stock in Children Board of Directors and continues to represent Kiwanis Club of Bradenton in that program. As immediate past president, he served on the club's membership committee and creatively designed a membership recruitment competition. He was recently elected to serve as a trustee on the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton Foundation. So tonight, it's my pleasure to help us recognize Dr. Steve Tinsworth for his service contributions to both our club and the community. Steve, congratulations.
Before I do the next one, I just want to let you guys know that you think you're humorous. I will charge a small fee to let you use my joke. We're going to have Phil Perry come up and talk about Bill Paddleford. I think Bill had to leave, but Bill.
I turned around and looked for the honoree, and I suddenly realized this chair was empty. William Bill Padelford joined the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton 9 years ago on August 7, 2003. On a fast track to club leadership, he was elected vice president a mere 2 years later. Under Bill's leadership as president, 2 major charitable contributions were made by the club. Meals on Wheels Plus received $126,000, and that gift, added to previous contributions, totaled $326,000 over a 4-year period. South Florida Museum received $75,000, and that gift, added to previous contributions, totaled $291,000 over a 4-year period. Bill has made Kiwanis a family affair, involving his children in Better Manatee Day projects and some of the reading programs. He continues to serve the club, assisting wherever needed. Currently, he is the person that changes the lettering on the sign in front of Kiwanis Hall, welcoming new members or announcing club news. He's also a member of the planning committee for tonight's 90th anniversary celebration. Tonight, we honor Bill Padelford by recognizing his willingness to serve, his dedication to our community, and his continuing support of our club.
He's going to do a photo, and then we'll.
Okay. Thank you all. And thanks. As a representative of Kiwanis International, we thank you for the donations to the foundation and honoring these people with Hicksons. And Jan and I thank you for letting us to be here. Thank you.
I promise the second half of our history is not as long as our first half, but before we get to the wrap-up, we're going to ask Jack Hawkins, our foundation president, to come and talk to us a little bit about the foundation. I couldn't find you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. I will be real brief, promise. Before I say anything, for the folks that got the Hickson Awards, it's really a neat honor, and quick true story. I've got one, so not to diminish what these folks just got, but quick true story. So I'm getting a bottle of beer, and I'm talking to Tom Mosley, and typically the past presidents get the Hickson Awards. It's quite an honor and well deserved. So I'm standing in line talking to Tom, and before this, Brenda sends out this email. She says, if you're a Hicksonite or if you got a Hickson Award, be sure to wear your little thing. And first time I've worn it in forever, ever. And so I'm talking to Tom, and I'm figuring Tom's a past president. He's got a Hickson Award, probably. So I said, Tom, where's your Hickson deal? He says, I'm not a Hicksonite. So I said, oh, well, you'll probably, and I didn't know, so you'll probably get one someday. So, very briefly and very quickly, I have had the real pleasure of serving as the president of the foundation for this past year, and it's really an easy gig. It really is. Being president of the club is tough. In fact, I was talking to Dave Wilcox and Susan Wilcox, and David's a Hicksonite, and so Susan says, you know, David calls it his, Purple Heart. And so I'm talking to David at Purple Heart, and he says, yeah, because when you're president of the club, you're always taking shots, you're trying to dodge bullets and everything, because it's kind of it's not a thankless job, but it is really a tough gig. And so I really appreciate being able to serve as foundation president. I want to tell you just a little bit about the foundation and the history of it. The foundation was started really in 1991. We sold the club. We're fixing to sell the club, I think, but we sold the trailer park in 1997. And when we sold the trailer park, it was a good payday. It was $8.5 million, which was very nice. And if you go back 60, 70 years, it was the vision and the leadership of this club 60, 70 years ago, 75, 80 years ago, that put this deal together to buy and put together the Bradenton Trailer Park. And so the foundation, up until a couple years ago, we have been a separate entity. Now we are a supporting foundation of the club. The club, it's the club's money. We manage the money for the club. We set a budget, if you will. We invest this money, and over the past, particularly since 1997, the leadership of this foundation, especially excluding me, but the leadership of this foundation and the stewardship has really been remarkable. Since we sold the club, since we sold the park in '97, we got $8.5 million. Since then, since '97, we've given $5.5 million to this community, $5.5 million. And we have grown the principal by about 17 or 18%. So that's really quite a testament to the stewardship of the foundation. And I'm hoping that 50, 60, 70 years ago, from now, people will say neat things about the foundation and the vision and leadership of this foundation that occurred in the 90s that they will about this club back in the 1920s. And that was, pretty neat. Nice, smart guys, smart ladies that put together a foundation that has survived another 75 or 80 years. And so the foundation right now, we manage the money. We set the budget for the club. The club, it's the club's money. The club is the workhorse of this community. The club will continue to be the workhorse of the Kiwanis family, if you will, as far as the Bradenton Foundation is concerned. Bradenton Club is concerned. And so any of you Kiwanians who ever have the opportunity to serve on this foundation, I would ask you to jump at that opportunity, because it is really pretty cool, and it is very neat, and it's really pretty easy because we've got good financial people involved in the foundation. I'm not going to name names because I wouldn't want to exclude anybody, but thank you for allowing me to serve as president of the foundation. One little hiccup in the program. I'm listed as president twice as president of the foundation. And Greg Bussel's name was inadvertently excluded, so Greg has also been a member or president of this foundation. So Greg, thank you for your leadership during that period of time, and for Mary Beth as being an integral part of this foundation. And I will bid you adieu and welcome Byron Chen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. My name is Byron Shin. I was president in 1993 and 94. My era is 1980 through 1999. The 1990s began, the 80s began with the U.S. hockey team winning the gold at the Winter Olympics in Lake Placid, New York. Ronald Reagan is elected president, defeating Jimmy Carter by a landslide margin. In the 1980 elections, Republicans won a majority of the U.S. Senate for the first time since 1952. And Beatle John Lennon is shot to death outside his apartment building in New York City. On the local scene, the freighter Summit Venture hits a pier on the southern span of the Skyway Bridge, killing 35 people. 7 years later, the new Skyway Bridge is open. The city of Bradenton budgets for a facelift of Old Main Street. Plans including widening and extending the sidewalks, adding park benches, planters, foliage, and antique-style light fixtures. The Manatee County Commission sells the financially strapped Manatee Memorial Hospital to the Baptist Hospital and Health Systems for $45 million. And by the way, there was a little committee that happened to be inside the Kiwanis Club that helped the county come to that decision. A little bit of history bites the dust as Payne Jewelry and Bell's Department Store are demolished downtown to make room for the new 9-story county office complex. Better Manatee was expanded to take more outside organizations. In the mid-'80s, the club major emphasis project won a statewide large club award for best projects on sickle cell anemia ID. Richard Allberg has presented the Johnny Wilson Memorial Trophy honoring the outstanding club president in Florida. Mayor Sterling Hall was inducted into the Tablet of Honor at Kiwanis International. Bradenton Kiwanis sponsored the Sunrise Kiwanis Club, became involved with the Special Riders for Handicapped Youth, and purchased the Nest Inn Hotel on 14th Street, which now houses the United Way headquarters. In 1986, delegates at the International Convention in Houston vote to remain male only. This comes full circle when Byron becomes president in 1993. At the same convention, Nancy Reagan is the recipient of the Kiwanis World Service Award. Remember what they just voted on? The club donates $100,000 to the Girls Club, and the first prayer breakfast draws over 600 attendees. 1987, 5,500 people turn out to watch members of the striking Tampa Bay Buccaneers play flag football against a team of Bradenton auto salesmen and law enforcement officers. The event is organized to raise funds for Valerie Tokager, daughter of the Bradenton police officer Bill Tokager. Valerie suffered from a rare liver disorder and needed a transplant. Incidentally, later on in the 2000s, Valerie received a Kiwanis scholarship for 4 years. The Bradenton Trailer Park celebrated its 50th anniversary, and Kiwanis International ends 72 years of tradition with delegates voting to allow women into Kiwanis. Didn't take them long. In the later years of the 80s, Tropicana Products is sold to Seagram's for $1.2 billion. Local politics change as voters approve a 7-member county commission with 5 members elected in their districts and the other 2 elected at large. Club projects include the Youth Ranch, startup funds for the Bradenton Boys Club Foundation. $25,000 went to the 13th Avenue Youth Center for bleachers, and $50,000 to the Manatee Association for Retarded Citizens for the start of one of their residences. The club board of directors also approved the establishment of our foundation. Past presidents in the 80s include 1980 Paul Bartley, 1981 Stan Stevens, 1982 our own Dave Bassett, 1983 Alan Butler, who was involved with Bell's Department Store at that time, Richard Allberg, 1984, 1985 William Beckley, 1986 Cliff Walters, 1987 John Hamner, 1988 Steve Korchek in the back of the room, in 1989 William Middlebrooks. Not come to the 90s. New school administration building opens in 1990, 62,000 feet, 5 stories, cost about $4.7 million. Gee, imagine. It replaces the red brick structure that was built in 1912 that housed the Manatee County High School and later as a Bradenton Junior High. The county's new administration center opens to the public, and the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport opens its new $56 million terminal. Snow falls in Manatee County for 2 days before Christmas. I think it melted pretty quick, though. Manatee High School beats Miami Carroll in the Class 5A to win the state championship and earn the best high school in the state. Club members Bob Vita, Stan Stevens, Bill Williams made a presentation to the NCAA in Kansas City, where they are awarded to be the host for the Alonzo Stagg Bowl here in Manatee County for the Division III football championship for 3 years. And we have footballs over to the side here, signed by the teams. There was also a donation of $74,000 given to local students and scholarship. Club bell ringers raised over $6,000 for Salvation Army. Every child a swimmer was implemented. Southeastern Guide Dogs received $25,000 to build a downtown training center. And we continued to address the needs of the children in the community by doubling the size of Manatee County Nursery School, and the Kiwanis Club helps to start the Salvation Army and Downtown Daycare Center. South Florida Museum received $50,000 for Snooty's new pool, and Snooty lives on. And the Bradenton Kiwanis Club joins a statewide effort emphasizing the importance of immunization for young children, which you heard about earlier, and the annual charitable budget in that year was $645,000. The Bradenton Trailer Park now had 596 lots, and the monthly rent went up to $199. And we were 55 and over, no pets, and we had no pool. We had the former Secretary of Agriculture, Earl Butts, speak to the club during Farm City Week, and Bobby Bowden spoke at the 4th annual prayer breakfast. Now we get to my year. Imagine being a CPA, trying to start your practice. You become an officer in the club, you're 3 years out from being president, and remember how we were audited by the IRS. In comes 1993, my year. Gladys Brannick is the first female accepted into membership. Governor Lawton Childs is a guest speaker at Kiwanis. Now comes the IRS. We get audited. Now remember, there was an attorney that we had that was around at the time. We changed our structure so the IRS would live with the circumstances, so we'd avoid our income tax. They didn't like the idea, so they audited the club. The initial write-up by the field auditor was for over $1 million for 1 year. So it got our attention really fast. So we hired a really good attorney. We found someone locally in the area named Sherwin Simmons. He happened to be a classmate and a really close friend of Hillary Clinton. And he was in the top 3 to become the IRS commissioner at the time. It helped. I learned quick. We also joined the kids fishing tournament on the Green Bridge. Better Manatee Day now attracts over 2,000 volunteers. The club contributes $50,000 to Kiwanis International for the worldwide iodine deficiency campaign that you heard about earlier. And after appeals, we get a no change. We don't owe any tax. So we won. I was thrilled. But it was really tough. It was a no-win situation there for the moment, because how would you like to be the CPA that happens to be the president that has to tell you just write a check for $1 million? It was a stressful year. Thank you, Sherwin. On to the rest of the club. On July 4th, 1996, the Olympic torch passed through the county. On July 4th, imagine that. On its way to the Centennial Olympics in Atlanta, the Bradenton Kiwanis, Lou Files, Ken Oden, and Jim Clark, and Ron Allen were to just name a few of the people of the 16 local torchbearers. The 1993 PGA champion Paul Azinger was a speaker at the annual prayer breakfast. Ground was broken for the $7.65 million City Center project. In 1997, the Kiwanis Club sold the park to the residents for $8.5 plus another $300,000 for a total of $8.8 million. 2 years after that, the tax law was changed. Thank goodness we sold the park when we did. At the end of the era, and they just didn't like the structure. At the end of the era, the Braden and Kiwanis Foundation is reorganized. The corporation was served as the entity was oversighting the operations of the charitable fund of the actual club. Julie Ross, who's here tonight, was the first female to be elected vice president, which made it up to the chairs to become president. Kiwanis Club of Braden celebrated its 75th anniversary and donated $50,000 for a new blood donor room in the blood center. And the presidents in this decade, 1990, were Bill Williams. In 1990, 1991, Gary Knuckles. 92, Greg Bussell. 93, Carl DeYoung. 94, Byron Shen. 95, Richard Gross. 96, Ken Pearson. 97, Bob Sweat. 98, Lou Files. 99, Jack Hawkins. And 1999, Julie Ross. Thank you.
My name is Tom Mosley, and I was the president from 2010 to 2011. Before I start, I'd like to really just thank the club for the Hickson Award. You've heard the list of the presidents for at least the last 80 years, and to be a past president is a humbling experience, and to be, if you listen to the names of the Hickson Award winners, it's even a more humbling experience. So thank you all very much for the Hickson Award tonight. We begin, and my history is much shorter because hopefully you remember part of it. The new century brought the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton the first female president when Julie Ross was installed as president and Bob Sweat became the new club treasurer. The club communications transitioned from paper bulletins to electronic newsletters. An emphasis on international relations became evident since work was initiated with a delegation from the Czech Republic for expansion of their club. A delegation from the Nassau, Bahamas Kiwanis Club visited the club, and a group of Bradenton Kiwanis participated in a trip to the Bahamas to do a joint project at the Bahamian Home for Orphans. There was also a club visit from an Italian delegation looking for ways service organizations assisted underprivileged children. The Kiwanis Club of Bradenton Foundation changed from private foundation to supporting organization. Noted speakers include Secretary of State Katherine Harris, who actually made 2 appearances. One was an actual appearance, and one was through her body double, David Wilcox. And if you have any questions about that, you can talk to David. General Tommy Franks, General Jack N. Merritt, and Florida Attorney General Bill McCullum. The Bradenton Marauders held a press conference and revealed their new logo at the club meeting. Sports personalities Rondé and Tiki Barber attended the Book Fest at the 13th Avenue Community Center, sponsored by Bradenton Kiwanis. Club projects included annual events such as Better Manatee Day, Scholarship, Kiwanis Prayer Breakfast, Salvation Army Bell Ringing, Boys and Girls Club Christmas tree sales, and contributions to local nonprofits. The club embraced a new service project when Christmas in August was introduced in 2011. Hundreds of Manatee County homeless children were made ready for the start of school with a lot of fun and excitement. Other new service projects included Every Child a Reader, which provides 3 to 5-year-olds with a book that is read to their class by a Kiwanian. A progressive marathon was also begun, which encourages young people to walk 26.2 miles by providing them with a pedometer, a final 1.2-mile run, and a celebration. During this era, Julie Ross started out from 99 to 2000. 2000, John Vita was president. 2001, David Wilcox. 2002, Gary Bogart. 2003, Charlie Hackney. 2004, Connie Shingledecker. 2005, Brenda Rogers. 2006, Dr. Brian Murphy. 2007, Phil Perry. 2008, Bill Padelford. 2009, Steve Tinsworth. 2010, Tom Mosley. 2011, Brenda Rogers. And that's the way it was.
My name is David Bishop. I'm president-elect for this coming year. Brenda Rogers asked me real quickly before we get started for the last part, will all past presidents please rise and be recognized? Come on. All right, thank you very much for your service. Now, it does say here the next 90 years I'm going to present, so don't worry, I've timed this. We should be out by 12:30, so just bear with me. Thanks, Brenda, for that, too. I appreciate that. You know, being asked to talk about the future is not an easy thing. You know, how do you start with that? And I thought, well, what is the future? So the future, if you go by statistics, Generation X is taking over. So Generation X is anybody born after 1965. So I'll raise my hand, I'm in that group. But with that, the future holds a lot of unknowns and uncertainties. But if we come back to our core foundation, I think is what is our success. Our club's future and success is driven by our mission. We are an organization of volunteers dedicated to changing the world, one child and one community at a time. You've heard from all of our past presidents, or most of them, about our past accomplishments. And I would hope that you would agree that we have and are making a difference in this community. It is well known now that our club has voted to move from our 14th Street location. No doubt this is a big transition, it's a big decision, and it wasn't easy, but it seems to be the right time. Yes, the hall has a lot of sentimental value to us, which can never be replaced. However, it's not the building that's made this club. It's the people, past and present, who have chosen to serve this community. And I just want to talk about a few just briefly. Like Diana Davis, I like to recognize her because she meets and greets all of our guests with a great smile and a great Southern accent. We appreciate that. I would also like to recognize Erin Craig for her leadership in the Big K mentoring that I participated with at King Middle. She's a past teacher, so working with her and the students, that was a great experience. I think I learned more about myself than the kids actually did, so thank you, Erin, for your support. John Vita, who probably serves on more committees than anybody on the planet. He does everything from youth services to the past presidents. Thank you, John, for your service. You heard Sharon Barhorst. I'll just do these real quick. Sharon Barhorst, who again is a Hickson Award winner tonight, along with Tom Mosley. These are great people who are making differences in our community. I'd also like to acknowledge Dave Bassett, who has over 34 years of perfect attendance. I don't know how you do that between Colorado and here, but we appreciate that. But as a past president and basically the inventor of Better Manatee Day, since I became vice president a couple years ago, David likes to give me advice or actually correct me on when I'm doing something wrong in a board meeting. So thank you, David, for your help. I wish I had more time to recognize everybody in the club right now because it is a great experience. All the past presidents that you saw before you today have been standing in this position. I'm very honored to assume that role coming October 1st. I'm confident that our club will continue to be successful because of our membership. I like to tell prospective members, if you want to volunteer once or twice a year for your church and your school, absolutely do that. It's a great service to the community. However, if you're born to serve and you have a passion for service and you want a positive, large impact in this community, join the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton. In closing, I would like to leave you with two quotes, one from Margaret Mead and the other by an unknown author. Margaret's quote is, "Never doubt that a small group of committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." And finally, our unknown author, "Don't ever question the value of volunteers. Noah's Ark was built by volunteers. The Titanic was built by professionals." Thank you. And in closing, on behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Bradenton, the Executive Committee, for all your hard work and your dedication, serving twice as president and putting together this very difficult event, we'd like to present you with these flowers.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that but I'm just part of a big, big team, and I enjoy it very much, what this club means in this community and what it means to me personally, and I'm just really happy to be part of it. You're 2 paragraphs from being away, getting out of here, so I'm going to wrap this up real quick. I just want to share with you, you've seen our 90-year history. We're proud of being part of the local efforts that have changed the dynamics of this community. Our primary emphasis is on youth, but we're also making investments in the viability of our community, and we've encouraged an environment of positive reinforcement for children and families, for individuals who live here, who call Bradenton and Manatee County home, both today and in the future. We're pleased that you came and joined us tonight for our celebration. I got to tell you, thanks to Bob and Jan for coming and being with us tonight. I missed in introductions. Gordon Wardell, our recently appointed Lieutenant Governor, Division Lieutenant Governor, is here. Thank you. And when we were reading the list of presidents, he was on the list, but his name was skipped, and that's Dick Gross, 1995. Dick, thank you for being here with us tonight. But we are proud to be part of Manatee County's history. We're looking forward to being right in the middle of its future, and that makes us the history. So here we are. Thank you for coming tonight, and come and see us again. Janine, we've got one close. If you'll stand, Janine's going to lead us in God Bless America, and then we'll be adjourned.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America,